Yeah, so it's been a busy week, obviously, very exciting week. Looking forward to tomorrow. I think I'd start by thanking all of our players and staff for a wonderful spring training. I really can't emphasize enough just how smoothly everything went this spring. The staff was phenomenal. The players came in tremendous shape, and it was the most competition I've ever seen in a spring training. Internally, we just had so many guys who pitched great, who performed great, and really a lot of hard conversations this week. Having been in these players' shoes at the end of camp and knowing all the emotions and everything that's tied to these decisions, I have a lot of empathy for the way these guys have handled it, and certainly we've had a number of hard conversations. And as we've looked to finalize the roster, I think we're in a spot now where the roster is basically set, barring anything unforeseen over the next 24 hours. But with that, I'll announce that Jake Latz and Yeri Rodriguez have been informed that they have made the team. They both had tremendous spring trainings, and we're excited about what those guys bring to our group and the talent that they have and how they can help us win. We've also informed Jose Arena and Jared Walsh that they will be on the team as well. So with that, it kind of completes our roster. We've made a move today. We've outrighted Jose Barrera, who has cleared waivers and will report to AAA at some point here. So we'll have a couple corresponding roster moves tomorrow administratively to make room for Walsh and Arena, but nonetheless, we're basically finalized at this point with our 26-man roster and excited to start the season with this group. So with that, happy to answer any questions and give you any answers that I can provide today. Evan?
Please wait on the mic.
I don't know if you can answer this one today, but obviously you've got some decision to make on Michael Lorenzen.
Yeah, you know what? Let me back up. I'm sorry. I should have announced that too. Michael Lorenzen and Jonathan Hernandez are going to start on the IL. I apologize. I overlooked that. Michael, we had considered pushing him to be ready on the opening day roster. I think physically he's not quite there, just missing spring training. There's still some baseball buildup that we need. He threw a live BP this afternoon, looked very good, but we're not there. It's not the responsible thing to do. Michael has been phenomenal. We're excited about where he is, but throwing him right into big league game is not the smart decision. So we're going to give him a little bit of time here. Jonathan had a slow spring training coming off the lat injury at the end of last season. He's not quite ready. He does look very good. He's trending the right direction, but there are still some steps left for him to pass with back-to-back games, multi-innings. So we need to get him in a baseball environment and allow him to really continue his build up and make sure he passes these tests and is fully healthy before putting him back in a big league environment. So, we intentionally slow played him. We knew he was coming off of a rehab. We were hopeful he'd be ready for opening day. Nonetheless, he's not quite there, and we'll look forward to getting Jonathan back at some point. So Evan, thank you for correcting that. Yeah. Next question.
So with that, and I don't know if this is for Boach to handle or for you, but with Lorenzen starting on the IL, I assume that means that Bradford starts in the rotation, correct?
Yeah, Cody's in the rotation. There's no doubt he's in the rotation, and we'll evaluate as Michael builds up, where the next, how he slides in at some point. And I think what we have with Cody and Dane and Michael, we have, and Jose Arena, we have some unique ways of really building the rotation out based on matchups. And, I think there may be times where we'll see an opener even, and just trying to put these guys in the best positions to succeed. But they've all pitched well out of the bullpen. That we know they're all capable starting pitchers. I think what we have are four guys between those that provide bulk, and we need that, especially early in the season as we go through a tough stretch here in April.
Hey, and just the last thing on the roster. I think I've got 7 relievers down here. There were a couple
Should
other
be
guys.
8.
Burke and Pruitt both pitched in camp, or did you make a decision on either?
Yeah, Brock Burke is on the team. Austin Pruitt is going to go to AAA. Austin had a great spring, was a really tough decision for us. In the end, we felt like having a little bit more length was necessary at this point, but really can't commend Austin enough for the spring training he had, and I think likely to play a part for us at some point. So, from a reliever standpoint, we have obviously Robertson, Yates, Leclerc, Spores, Burke, Latz, Yuri Rodriguez, and Arena.
Yeah.
Chris, I understand sports is fluid. What was the conversation with you and Cody? Because you had come out earlier and said, hey, we've got our starters, and then obviously you made the change with Lorenzen going forward. So how was that for him in terms of having those conversations?
Well, the change was that we signed Michael, but we haven't made any change in terms of Cody. Cody's in the rotation, and this is a performance-based game, and Cody's performance will dictate how we are moving forward, and certainly Michael and his build-up and where he is from a health standpoint. But we're very excited about the spring Cody had, and we're looking forward to watching him out here one of these first 5 games, hopefully helping us win.
Chris, knowing that your starting rotation is going to be kind of an ongoing evolution all year as assuming things continue to progress, how much of the 40 men that you put together with your pitching staff was done just wanting to have guys with maximum flexibility in mind?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's one of my it's very important to me. I think it's important to every organization. I think it's modern day pitching. Roster construction means that you have a lot of versatility, and certainly you're going to need depth. And we saw that last year in the playoffs as we got into shortened series. The ability to put a few of our starters in the bullpen really helped us out, helped us win. And I think that this year we've tried to do the same in terms of building out a pitching staff that has that depth and versatility. Guys that are capable of pitching in the rotation, guys that are capable of pitching meaningful innings, not just as a swing man or a long man, but really even shortened down in meaningful innings in the bullpen. And I think that we, going into the season, have some of that. I think the Lorenzen signing really helped us with that. We're looking forward to Michael joining the team here soon. But as we go over the course of the season, getting Max Scherzer, Tyler Mahle, and eventually Jacob deGrom back, I think provides even more versatility in that regard. And so I think as the season goes, and that's obviously assuming that we don't have bumps in the road along the way, where we don't lose guys along the way. But assuming perfect health, we look at the end of the season and think we could be in a pretty good spot. But I don't take for granted for a second how hard the season is, and we have a long way to go. So we've got a very competitive division. We've got a tough April schedule. We've got our work cut out for us. So, but I am excited about the group we have. I believe in them, and I'm looking forward to us hopefully getting off to a good start here.
Chris, it seemed like there's a lot of competition in the bullpen, with maybe Mark Church and a couple other guys getting the short end of the stick. What stood out about Yuri Rodriguez and Latz?
Well, I think Yuri's spring training was tremendous. I mean, he may have been our best pitcher in camp throughout the spring. It really was impressive how well he competed. It was a different look to him than what we saw last year, and it's hard. Coming up as a rookie in the big leagues, it's really hard. And I think we saw flashes last year where Yuri was really good, and we saw some moments where it wasn't as strong. And this spring, what we saw was a major league look to Yuri, and he earned this. And so we just met with him. He was home the last couple of days for the birth of his child, and he returned today. We informed him he made the team, and Mike Maddox asked him what was different this spring, and Yuri gave a great response about really just being focused on making one good competitive pitch after the next, which is obviously something that, as a pitcher, it can be unbelievably hard to do at times, but he did it wonderfully this spring, and we hope it continues into the season. His stuff is real. His ability, his upper 90s velocity, two good quality off-speed pitches with a changeup and a slider, and he is an elite strike thrower. So I think all of that sets up to be a very good major league pitcher, but there's growth that all rookies and young pitchers go through. And I think what we saw this spring was a big step forward from Yeri, and he obviously earned it. Jake Latz had a very good spring as well. He pitched great in the second half last season. We saw him briefly last year. He provides a unique left-handed look for us. Obviously, Brock Burke is on the team as a lefty, and I think Jake and Brock are two different looks. Brock, with a unique fastball profile, and Latzy has really some unique off-speed and spin abilities that gives Boch some different weapons in terms of how he deploys these guys. So we thought as we go into the early part of the season, having two lefties in the pen was something that we needed, and Latzy earned that. Yeah, and I'll speak to Mark. I can speak to a number of guys, and I'm probably going to leave somebody out if I list them all. But, I mean, Mark Church, Grant Anderson, Jesus Tinoco, Austin Pruitt, Chasen Shreve, Shane Green. There's just Daniel Robert had a great spring. Jack Leiter. There's a number of players. Blake Taylor. So many guys came in and pitched really, really well. It was pretty awesome to have such tough decisions, but led to some sleepless nights as well. And so there are a number of these guys that could have easily broken with the club, and we're going to need all of them at some point, is my guess. So to have the depth and some of these that have chosen to stay in the organization, we're very grateful, and my guess is we're turning to them at some point, whether it's due to injury or performance.
I'm guessing Nathaniel Love will be one of those corresponding moves tomorrow. What's the update on him and where he's at right now?
Yeah, Nate will start on the IL. He's probably a couple weeks away. He's just now starting some baseball activity. He's progressing great, but we don't want to rush this. This was a grade 2 oblique injury, and it's going to take a little time. Nate obviously is going to need a little build up and to get his rhythm and timing back from a hitting standpoint. And but he's doing great. He's passing all the tests day by day, but we're still at least a couple weeks away from really determining at what point he'll be back.
So on a depth level, like you mentioned, Pruitt will take the assignment to the minor leagues. Tinoco, I think, had to, right? He's going to the minor leagues.
Correct.
How many of those other guys, like you just mentioned all these guys, how many of those guys are you keeping?
They're all the guys I mentioned have chosen to return and stay in the organization, and that was a choice they had, and very grateful to each of them for wanting to be here, because I think we recognize the fit from a culture standpoint. They're all great people, great competitors, and they all had really solid springs. And I think we see a path for each of those at some point helping us in the big leagues.
So you go Pruitt, Shreve, and Green are all big league veterans. Taylor's got some big league time. You've got optionable pieces in your bullpen right now, and you've got those three guys, Anderson, Church, that you mentioned. How much better do you feel about the depth and maneuverability of your bullpen than you did at this time of year?
Significantly better, Evan. I don't want to overstate it, because I like to, under-promise and over-deliver. So that said, as I compare what we have in our AAA depth right now compared to where we were even last year, or certainly the years before that since I've been here, this is a really good AAA pitching staff, and I'm very excited for these guys. I think competition brings out the best in everybody, and we're going to see some guys step up and earn their way to the big leagues.
What did you make of Justin Foskey's spring, and what kind of the next steps look like for him?
Yeah, Justin had a great spring. It was really impressive. We told him this a couple days ago when we told him we were optioning him to Round Rock. He came in and he was in phenomenal shape. He had a great spring training. His offensive profile is real. The characteristics that we look for in a hitter in terms of plate discipline, chase rate, walk rate, strikeout rate, he checks all the boxes there, and he's very close to being a very high-quality major league hitter. Really, this was more of a numbers game at some point, and making sure that we'd be able to I think being able to give Jared Walsh a little bit of runway here and seeing what we have in that. And then secondly, it's hard having a young player come off the bench. And if we don't have a clear path for him to play, on a daily basis, he may be better off going to AAA and getting off to a good start. My guess is that something will open up at some point, whether it's from an injury or Justin likely will play so well that we're gonna turn to him at some point. So he opened our eyes in terms of how close he is to being Major League ready. He played a great second base and he played a great first base. It was really impressive, and he's committed to working at it. So we're very excited about him. My guess is he'll be here at some point relatively soon.
So you still have two 40-man spots. It seems like Max has really picked up the pace on his return. Is he a surefire 60-day candidate, or could he beat the 60 days?
He is not a sure thing to go on the 60-day IL. My guess is that we do not do that.
Okay, and then with Barrera, you're keeping a premium talent, at least that hasn't blossomed yet, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that the way you see it? And did he?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he hasn't blossomed. I would just say that he developmentally is still it's a work in progress, and it's coming. We saw some real things. I mean, he played a great outfield defense. He can play the infield. He can play shortstop, and the bat is coming. It's hard to hit Major League pitching, and he was in a spot where he was out of options. Obviously, you never know when somebody's going to come into their own, and often you hope that it's on your clock and not on somebody else's. And I think with Jose, we now have the opportunity to help him make some mechanical changes and hopefully bring out the best in him and realize his true potential. And there are transactional rules that sometimes inhibit your ability. And we've seen that with some of our own players that have gone on and had success elsewhere. You just always hope it's on your clock and your timeline, but players' developments, you can't predict perfectly, and sometimes you just run out of time. And I think we were able to benefit from Jose's clock expiring with Cincinnati, and now he's here, and we're excited to make some changes and hopefully bring out the best in him.
Everybody set? Billy?
Chris, in your mind, how much better is this opening day roster than last year's opening day roster that you had?
Oh, you have a list of the opening day roster from last year. I remember the core guys, but I can't remember everybody. But I just, I believe in our group. I can't speak to comparing the two. We were the world champions last year. We got off to a hot start last year, and this team played great out of the gates. And I think it set a tone for our team throughout the season. I think this year we come into it knowing that we're a good team. But we don't take for granted how hard winning Major League Baseball games are. We've got our work cut out for us, but I'll tell you this, I believe in this group as much as I believed in the group last year, and I'm super excited to get started here. I'm excited for our fans. This is going to be a great weekend to celebrate what we accomplished last year, something that our fans have never had the opportunity to celebrate, and I can't wait for them to fill this place up and to be a part of that and experience that. And I can't wait to also move into 2024 and see what this team can accomplish and how they gel and how they come together. So I don't know if that's a perfect answer to your question, but nonetheless, I will say I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited, but I also recognize that we have work to do, and looking forward to getting out and doing it. Yeah.
You want Boach to do